How are you out there? This is the Enzo Di Costanzo podcast, and we've had quite a start to the semester this year so far with the weather, and at NJCU we had that little bit of a computer issue, so we'll be making up a lot of things with the YouTube videos that are going to support what we're going to do in all the live classes. So what we're going to work on today, and we'll get to it. Yeah, so here we are. So this is my January lecture for whatever it is I'm teaching. This is my January lecture. All right, so this is cost, volume, profit, and we're going to work out some problems in this chapter: variable costs, fixed costs, relevant range, the concept of mixed cost. I was using an example where if you're living somewhere and you can assume the property tax is set for the year, if it's out in Queens or wherever it might be, and if one person lives there, or if 10 people live there, you're still paying, let's say it's $10,000 a year, which is much more probably out there, but let's say it's $10,000 a year in property tax. So if 10 people pay there, everybody pays, theoretically, everybody could pay $1,000. Or if one person lives there, the one person's got to bear the burden of the whole 10,000. With your vehicle, if you're driving your car and you're getting 10 miles a gallon, you use a gallon of gas. 20 miles, 2 gallons of gas. 30 miles, 3 gallons of gas. That's a variable cost. Okay, a mixed cost is perhaps repairing your car, where maybe you don't do the same repairs every year or have the same bills every year to repair your vehicles. You should listen to your car, and if there's a funny smell, you smell something burning or the oil is burning or something, you should be very conscious of how your car is operating. I had an ex-girlfriend from long ago. She drove her Honda with no oil in the motor. The oil, she ripped the pan off the bottom of the car somehow, just driving around Jersey City long ago. And just drove and kept driving it until it just seized up, and that was the end of that. But she drove it for a while, and that was, I thought, pretty amazing. So I remember the guys. I remember I was at the repair shop with her somewhere in Jersey City, and the guys were like, "You got big problems with the car." They wanted to buy the car from her. They wanted to buy it, fix it, and sell for a lot of money. Is what they wanted to do. We're going to talk about break even. We're going to talk about contribution margin. We're going to talk about target net income. We're going to talk about margin of safety. We're going to talk about the impact on the income statement. Okay, we're going to do that all on Excel, because you guys have the PowerPoint discussion. We already posted that, and now we're going to work the Excel part out. Now, what you need to do here with this is, again, as I mentioned in class yesterday and this week, you should have 2 files. You have the template that you download, and then rename the template something else, and then that's the file that you work in, and then you copy and paste from what's downloaded into your template. Okay, that's what you really need to do. So we're looking at cost behavior analysis. It's a study of how specific costs respond to changes in the level of business activity. The level of business activity could be how many people come into the Home Depot, how many people come into your auto repair shop, how many people are calling Verizon saying they want fiber optic cable installed in their homes, those kinds of things. And the activity level to be useful in cost behavior change analysis, changes in the level or volume of activity should be correlated with changes in cost. The activity level selected is referred to as the activity or volume index. So the activity index identifies the activity that causes changes in the behavior of the costs. Okay, and all economists or all math sort of business people love to create an index, the S&P 500 or whatever it might be, something that removes the dollars, removes the euro, removes the units. As the number goes up, it's good. As the number goes down, it's bad. All of that. So here we have some definitions, what a variable cost is. I discussed this in class already with you guys, or I discussed this previously in the video. Costs vary in total directly and proportionally with the change in activity level. A variable cost may also be defined as a cost that remains the same per unit at every level of activity. So again, you're driving the car 10 miles, you use a gallon of gas, driving up to Tarrytown, that kind of a thing. And the example that we have here, actually, we're going to make 4 graphs here, and we're going to fill in this little table. And as I've said in class a number of times, this type of thing, people will pay you to do it. So you would think you'd want to learn how to do things like this, because people are going to pay you to do stuff like this. So, let's look at what a digital clock is. And we've discussed this recently. So, here's what a digital clock looks like. And here, I'll just pick this one, the Sharp one or whatever. Hamilton Beach makes them too. But this was the one that reminds you of the one my father had. It's got a clock. It's got a FM signal, AM signal receiver. It's got a speaker. It's got an alarm. So it's got a bunch of different things going on here. Volume control, all those kinds of things. And these have components that you can physically see. Okay, you can physically see these components. Your cell phone is a piece of silicon with the circuitry imprinted on it, and that's it. You can't pick out different control circuits or memory. You can't pick out different components of that. It's like a little I want to say a record, but vinyl record, but you guys probably don't, you're too young. You don't even know what that is. A vinyl record is how we used to listen to music long ago. The initial medium for audio recording was to burn a bunch of little divots in a piece of vinyl and run it in a circle and have a little sensing needle move up and down, and that would create sound. Okay, so that was invented probably about 150 years ago or so. Let me see when the invention of the vinyl record was. Invention of vinyl. Oh, 1930. Okay, that's a little bit. I didn't realize it was that recent. That's actually pretty recent. RCA did it. Okay. The history of vinyl records. Yeah. So that's a turntable. That's the original ones. There's the speaker on it, and you'd put the vinyl on there. If you guys can really see it, you'd put the record on here, turn it in a circle, and it would create sound by moving the needle. There was a sensing needle that changed the signal to the speaker. So you're getting a little electrical engineering lecture too, as we're doing all of this, but which I can never resist doing. Okay, but that's what a clock. So in other words, this particular, and you can see the guys who made this example probably not that young. They used the clock radio example, which is, dates them. They didn't say MP3s or an Apple phone or something, but there's components in the phones too. Okay, but this is a little bit more a visual thing. So labor and capital, or labor and material, let's say it's $10 per digital clock to install that into the phone, labor and the materials involved. So if we're going to make 2,000 radios and spending $10 every time we install a digital clock, we're going to be spending 20,000. All right, or 100,000 when we produce 10,000 radios. We also can see that a variable cost remains the same per unit as the level of activity changes, and the unit cost of $10 for the clocks are the same when the company produces 2,000 units or 10,000 units. Okay, so yeah, so what we'll do here is we'll go from 2,000 units produced, and you can see my little example here. We started about 2,000 units, and what I could do something like this. I could do 3,000, 4,000, right? 5. I could just type in like that. I could do that, or a better way is to type the 2,000 in like that. Then I say equals 2,000, and then plus my little delta is going to be 2,000, and then I say shift down arrow, Control D, and see how they're all the same now, or not all the same, but they're all. You put it gives you a step of units produced: 2,000 clock radios, 4,000 clock radios. Another way to do it, and here I'll this is just, see, this is blue font, so this number is just inputted. The black font means there's a formula that generates that number in the cell, the particular Excel cell there. So what I did here, I hit the edit mode. I refer to the cell above, which is L54, column L, row 54, plus 2,000. But I also could do this. I can say L $54. And what I've done, I've linked that little delta to that 2,000. So instead of me typing in the 2,000, I happen to have the number as a part of my list there, and it's a number that I entered. It's a part piece of data that I entered. So I can say L54 plus L54 every single time. So the difference between L54 and L54 with the $sign means I've locked my row. So as I copy and paste my way down, this is going to refer to L55. This will refer to L56, but it'll keep adding the 2,000 from the top line every time through. So that's a little computer science maneuver here, a little computer science algorithm to generate all these numbers. Okay, so the variable cost would be, actually here we could do this. The per unit cost is $10, and they're all the same. All right, so all I did here is I just equated the cell below to the cell above. Okay, it's like that. All right, so this is $10 per unit. So what I do for the variable cost now, I'm going to take my units times what it costs. So what we'll do is the cost is N54. We'll lock in the 54, and here we'll lock in the column. Okay, so that's how you get your 20,000, right? And then you're going to copy this and say Alt HV formula. And you're clearing out your fill here. So let's go to the 80,000. The 80,000 is simply $10 per unit times the number of units produced, which is 8,000. That's how you get 80,000. The fixed cost would be 10,000 even. Okay. And again, equals 10,000. See what that looks like? So again, each of these lines refers to the one above. 57, 058. So what you need to do is you're doing math, and also you got to think in your head how to program this in Excel. Okay. So that's how you're dealing with that. The fixed cost per unit relates to what I discussed earlier. The more units you make, you're going to spread that fixed cost out among, greater products. It'll reduce that cost. And I was astonished that somebody in class said, "Oh, well, it gets bigger." I was surprised at that. You can do it like this and just say, oh, 54 divided by L54. You could do something like that. But also what you could do is you could lock in that top line if you want and just get $5 and then copy the formula, Alt HV formula. And you can see how obviously it declines. And we'll have a graph for that. So we'll graph all of these. So we'll graph total variable cost per unit, total fixed cost. We'll make 4 sets of graphs here. Do we have 4? Yeah. Okay. So again, people will pay you to do that. So here, let's review what we did here. So we created 6 levels of production. We figured out the variable cost is $10 per unit, and then got the computed the total variable cost based on the units produced. We have a fixed cost, and then we divided the fixed cost by all the units we produced. Okay. So Excel works like this. If you have 2 cells next to each other, this can be the x-axis. This is the y-axis. Like that. Okay. A little bit smaller. You don't need these to be too big. Okay. So what you do is you just highlight, and if you go from left to right from X to Y axis, then you're going to go to Insert. You're going to go to Charts, and you're going to go to this piece with this is scatter with straight lines and markers. Okay. We can move this thing out of the way. So what you've done is this is the x-axis or the units, the y-axis is the total variable cost. That's what that is. Okay. And there's a lot of stuff that we're going to do with this. The title, we're going to click on the title, say Control A. This is going to be total variable costs. Digital clocks. And you can change the font here to, you want to get a darker, a black font. You can even bold it a little bit. Okay. You can make an outline of this thing if you want, a nice blue. Okay, which is like that. You can put a legend up here, a legend, or here, let's name this. If you click on the line and you go to chart design, you go to select data, you go to edit, you want to label your data. So the data is really $10 per digital per radio. And hit OK. And it should show it under legend. Yeah, it should show it. Want legend on the top. Okay. See? So that labels your data. Also, you want to click here, click on that little plus. You want axis titles. Okay, so the vertical one is going to be cost United States dollars. Horizontal one are units of radios. produced. Okay. You could leave them that size, or you can change the font. You can go back to 9 or so, or something like that. 10, right, to 9. Okay. You could work like that. And also what you could do with this, you could make the font a little darker, right? Make it black font. Right? Click on this, Control A. See, we're doing all of this because we're going to make 3 other graphs, but the other graphs we're going to reuse what's up here. You can alter the axes here. So just format the axis. You could change the upper limit, the lower limit, the step. You could make it move by 10,000 instead of 20,000, right? You can do that. See, that clutters it a little bit. So I don't know how much that really helps you, right? So you can go back and say the major axis might be 20,000. Okay, and these are 1,000 at a shot, that kind of a thing. You want to do grid lines, right click on the format the axis. You want a solid line, make it a half a point. The dash type is here, and the color could be a nice gray, a nice easy gray. So you have the dash lines there and grid lines here. Format the grid line, solid, half a point, dotted, and keep the gray in there. Okay, look at that. And then also your outside border under outline, it's like the middle one, I think. Yeah, there it is. And you could make this. You could make the. You could click on these and change the color here of the graph outline. But you could this is good. And with the markers, right click on a marker on the marker itself, and then click on where it says fill here, and then go to marker. Marker option built in, make it a little bit smaller, and you could change the color too. Do a solid fill and change the color to something else, to a nice dark blue. Okay, the line, you can go to the line, solid line, and make the line a nice dark blue too. See how we're changing these things? And you could change the width of the line, make it thinner if you want. All right, make it a 1-point line, something like that. Okay. And actually, the outline here needs to be altered too. The outline is gray. You got to make it blue. See, now everything's fixed the way it should be. That's your variable cost line. And I've said it a number of times in class, and I'm going to say it again. The more of this kind of a thing you do to communicate your ideas, the better. And the more graphical and the more sort of user-friendly your communication is, the better off you're going to be. And you can outline the whole thing here. You can even do it in blue if you want. All right, see, look at that. Okay. The next one we're going to work on is the per unit. This is variable cost per unit for digital clocks. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on this line and watch the trick I'm going to pull here. We're covering radios produced and total variable cost. I'm just going to grab this, and you could type it into. You could come up here. That's maybe even better. You can come up here, instead of M, make it N, and hit return. See what we did now? So we changed what this line's referring to from variable cost to variable cost per unit, which is $10 the whole way. And this being $10, you don't need 20,000, so you can format the axis and change this to, I did it 16. The step could be $2, something like that. See, now it looks a little. So again, so as you alter this, you're going to be doing better. Your cost per unit in dollars, units of radios produced. So this is, so you can see we didn't have to redo grid lines, and we didn't have to redo the color of the graph, and we didn't have to redo all that stuff. Okay, I'm just rebolding my lines a bit. But that's variable cost per unit. Okay, and that's level. That's that $10. That's the $10 that we graphed here. So again, you send somebody these three graphs, they can maybe read through them pretty quickly. I was checking out something, and now we're going to go to fixed costs, which is next. I was checking out something. I think it was J.P. Morgan or something. It was Jamie Dimon discussing. He was being interviewed by David Rubenstein a number of years ago, and they were discussing schools and the level that I think it was the South Bronx or something, that the kids coming out of the school system in the South Bronx, the level of math that they can do. They can't read graphs or interpret graphs. So, this is a valuable skill to be able to do all of this. This is a really valuable skill. So we did 2 of the 4 columns here. We did this one and we did the 2 variable ones. Let's do fixed next. And there's some more notes here, but we'll get to these notes in a little bit. But this just repeats what I spoke about here. It says the fixed costs are $10,000 per month, and if you divide by the units you produce, you get the per unit fixed, the fixed cost per unit. And if you're making more units, you're lowering your fixed cost from $5 per unit to $1 per unit. That kind of a thing. Okay, so I copy and pasted the latest graph, and I put it here. So this is rent expense. We're calling it rent expense. This is total fixed costs. Okay, so again, we'll click on this graphic here, and we want to change this from referring to N to referring to O, column O. Okay, and also what you want to do here, because it's so far out there, you do format axis, you can do auto. Okay, and you don't need, yeah, there. I hit the reset and it did it on its own almost. Okay, we did auto fill. But you could type these in. You can just right click here and go to see here. You can just go to what are we doing here on this one? Format the axis. Yeah, you can just type these. You just look at the numbers. 12,000 is the big one, and you're stepping by 2,000. You can type that in. I mean, hopefully that's obvious, right? That you can do that. And the last one that we're going to work on, and I'm keeping the fixed cost version. This is fixed cost, or fixed costs per unit. Okay. And this, this is, yeah, here, actually this, we need to change this, go to select data. You want to change the edit on this, the data. You're down here, and this is going to be lease 10,000 per month facilities. Okay. $10,000 per month. Now let's get rid of this, and we'll pull this one, copy, paste. Okay, and this is going to be, this is no longer total fixed cost. This is fixed per unit. Okay, and we'll click, and here I'll do this a different way. I'm just going to grab, instead of retyping the reference to O, see O, it goes 054 to 059. That's 50. I'm just going to grab this box and just go bang. Okay. And the drawback with this, now you have to retype the identification of the data, right? You're going to right click, select data, edit. This is lease 10,000, 1, 2, 3 per month facilities. Okay. We did everything in blue. You could change the colors up a bit. And you can see, obviously, so contrary to what that answer I got in class, and when I get a terribly bad answer, I always seem to remember it. So that was a terribly bad answer that I heard, my ears heard. And it says the trend for manufacturers have more fixed costs and fewer variable costs. Um, Result of automation, less employee labor. There's depreciation, lease charges, and direct labor costs. The idea is to have less direct labor costs and bigger depreciation and lease costs. But okay, costs. All right, we have the relevant range here. And again, as I mentioned this in class, if you've got a facility, you've only got so much space, only going to fit so many workers in there. There's only so many workstations and all those kinds of things. Okay, so if you ran it 24 hours a day, how at the maximum, what can you get out of if you're creating electronics or steering wheels or tires or electronic components or components for computers or computer monitors or keyboards or hard drives or microprocessors like Intel. How many microprocessors can I possibly get out the door if we just run this? We have the pedals to the floorboard on running that factory. Okay, so that's relevant range. It says a straight line is drawn throughout the entire range. So in other words, let's say this is the most clock radios that is 12,000. This is it. This is all. We're not going to study what happens at 120,000 because that's not relevant to what we're talking about. Okay, that's relevant range, and there's notes here. Mixed costs are contain both a variable element and a fixed element. I like the car repair example. You don't make the same amount of car repairs expense every year. Generally, sometimes it could be just very minor. Sometimes you could do a transmission or something very big on your car. So, but it's not proportional to the activity that you drive the car. Every 5 years, you got to change the tires generally, something like that. Okay, so we have another problem here. This is a U-Haul, and I suspect this is going to be very similar to what we just discussed here. There's an in-chapter question. There's a high-low method that we can look at. Okay, so we can get a lot of this out of the way. So if you want to take a breather for a second, you hit the pause button because this is going to be the same problem, but the problem is sort of illustrated a little bit differently. It says you rent a U-Haul truck, and this is an example of a mixed cost problem. All right, it's 17 foot. That's an obvious measurement of the car. Includes insurance. It's $50 a day plus 50 cents a mile, or half a dollar a day. And I created the formula here. When determining the cost of the one-day rental, the per day charge is fixed, and then the mileage charge is variable. Okay, and we're going to make a graph for this. Yeah, so we'll do a one graph version of this. So total cost, and we're going to have total cost all on the same axis. That's going to vary this problem a little bit from what we just saw. Okay. Now and I'll tell you, I didn't do great on, just thinking back, I didn't do great on my SATs. I don't think I did that well. I wasn't off the charts good at it. But somehow people keep saying, "Oh, these are a lot like SAT questions." But this gauges your intelligence. Okay, so you're doing $50 plus 50 cents. 50 cents is 0.5, half a dollar times the number of miles. Okay, that's the formula for the per day charge. And now you've got to figure out: are you driving up to Boston? What are you doing? So we did it by 50 miles. Oops. Right, we did this by 50 miles. So that brought us to, that's about Boston, right? That's about Boston. All right, Boston's about 250 miles away from New York City. So there you go. Word up to Boston. That's all I can tell you. And so anyhow, so if you drive no miles, what are we looking at and all these things? This strikes me as not being right here. Okay. So the per unit cost is 50 cents per mile. I don't know how accurate that is. And we'll say equal 50 cents. All right, yeah, it's 50 cents a mile. Also, your fixed cost is $50. This is all similar to what we previously did. See how we're doing this? Okay, so you enter your numbers here, and then you just have the cells below be equal to the top numbers. Okay, so 50 cents, $50, all that. And we're going to sum total variable cost and total fixed cost. We're going to sum them here, and we'll get to that soon. Now, if the variable cost is 0, no miles, it'll be equal to product, right? Remember this function product times 0, comma, the per unit cost, which is left, which that's that 50 cents. Now, what you can do is you can lock in your column. You can lock in your column there. And actually, we'll let this one float. We didn't do this previously. What we previously did was we set the multiplier to that first 50 cents, and that's it. But now we'll just let this thing float a little bit. Okay. The fixed cost, now we have a per unit fixed cost. There's nothing for the first one because it's 0. And then we'll take this and we'll go fixed cost, total fixed cost divided by miles, per mile. So that would be $1. Okay, and then you can say copy Alt H the formula. So you pasted your formula down. So what you've done, your fixed cost per unit, $1, 50 cents, 20 cents. So as you're driving more miles, you're spreading out that fixed cost from here to Boston and then I think you have to come back, right? So it'd be even lower for the return trip. So, okay. That's your per unit fixed cost, and these are not clocks. This is the rental of the U-Haul, So yeah, these little comment things here. Wait, the way to see this, I'm hovering over that little red triangle, and I'm getting rental of U-Haul. You're going to right-click on a cell, and you'll say is it a note? Yeah, no, it will be no, and then you just type in something, and hit escape, and that's it. And click, right? So that's how you put a comment in, or they call them notes now. So let's delete the note. Right, we'll do, but I just put these little to remind us what we're talking about. And now the final column here is you're going to equal total variable cost plus total fixed cost. Okay. And that's it. Okay, now we're going to do here, and what I could do, I could redo the graphic one more time, but why do that? Well, here, actually, let's, because we're you guys aren't total experts at this. So see what's this total variable cost. Let me select these two lines. Say insert, scatter, and we'll do the line with the markers, which is right there. Okay, and this starts at yeah, actually I did the variable one. Well, we could leave the variable one in there. I didn't here. I did fixed only. I did fixed, and then we did the total one. Okay, so here, let's put this over like that. Okay, so this would be, and here let's go to the plus and put the titles in, the axis titles. So what are we doing here? This is cost per day, US dollars. This is number of miles. Okay, like I said, we can do a lot of things with this. We can make this the font. We can make it the thing 9 instead of 10. It shrinks it a bit. Also with the font, we can do the color. If you want to change, maybe make it purple this time, something like that. Control A, right click, font, right? Make it purple. The size, make it a 9. Okay. You could bold them if you want. You don't have to I put borders around some of these sometimes. You don't have to. You could put a border around those if you wish. Okay, we'll put the border on the top here. This is the chart title, Control A. This is rental. Okay. And we'll go right click, font, make it purple. You can make it bold too if you wish. The style, make it a bold. Leave it at 14. Okay. How's that? And you could put a border around that or not. Here, let's put a border around the whole thing here. This is outline, the whole graphic. Make it purple. We're in the purple mode now. Okay. Right click, select the data, edit. This is total variable costs. And we'll click on this plus legend top. Okay. Make your grid lines, right click, format the grid lines, solid. You don't want blue. You want a nice gray, half a point, and dash. Right? Right click, format the grid lines, solid, half a point, dash. And do a purple outline to your graph. Okay. Okay. Actually, no, we don't want to do that. We want the outline to be like that. Nice gray. Okay. And the markers, format the data series, click on the first one and go to marker, solid, or actually go to marker option, built in, and make it a little bit smaller. There's a solid here. Here's line, solid line. Where's your color, which is there. You can even shrink the line a bit to make it a 1-point line. Okay. Actually, these things have a little bit of an outline too. So let's do here outline and make that blue also. There you go. Okay, that's your variable cost. Now, right click, select data, add. Your X are your units, 0 to 100. We'll do your fixed is $50. Okay, this is fixed costs, daily insurance. Okay, and this doesn't need markers. So we'll do format the data series, click on the first piece, marker options, none for this one, 0. Okay. It's at 50. So it's between 60 and 40. That's your 50. And then we'll do the total cost line, which is next. We'll right click, select data, add. $0 to 300. Okay. And actually with this one, we could do the gray, but yeah, let's do purple. Fill purple. And marker, format the data series, the first one, marker, options, make it built in and smaller a bit. Okay, there you go. Okay, there's your total cost graphic. So this we did all in one graph, which is a little more realistic in terms of when you do this work. Okay. So we did a fixed cost element plus a variable cost element is what we did here. The fixed cost is having the service available, and the variable cost is the using of the service. And Yeah, there's an in-chapter question here. What do we actually? Let's see if we can run to that in-chapter question and figure out what they're asking. Yeah, so we're given a pattern here. It says Helena Company reports the following total cost at two levels. You have a 10,000 unit level and a 20,000 unit level. So this is 10,000 units. Okay. This is 20,000 units. And we look, what did we look at here? Yeah, we did percentage change is what we did. Right, I said equal percent. So that you take 20,000 minus 10,000 divided by 10,000. That's just hopefully some simple math. I mean, that shouldn't be too complicated of anything, right? This is 11, this is 10. That's just a percentage change. You just subtract these two numbers and divide by the older one and use parenthesis, and the numerator use parenthesis. And then you have a bunch of numbers here for direct materials at the 10,000 unit level. You had 20,000 in cost, and you had $40,000 in cost at the 20,000 unit level. So again, we'll take the formula here and just drop the formula. I just formula pasted. It's just a formula paste is what I just did. And it's the same formula, right? So if you have 100% change, okay, if you have 100% change, then obviously it's going to be this is the result of that will be variable cost. Okay, then you have 8,000, 10,000. That's a 25% change. That's obviously a mixed cost. It's not so proportional, right? You doubled your units, but you didn't double your maintenance. Here you had 17,000. Okay. Again, that's 100,000. That's 100% change. That's a variable cost. Indirect materials. Remember this stuff from last semester? The people who worked with me last semester, we spent some time on this, right? That's 100% change. That's a variable cost. Okay. If the cost doesn't change, that's the easiest one. That's just simply fixed cost, right? That's 0. So this is FC. This is 3,000, 5,000. This is a mixed because it's not quite proportional. And then the last one is they're the same again, right? 2 6,000s. Again, the 0% change are going to be your fixed, right? Those are going to be your fixed. Okay, that's what this thing asked. If you look in the textbook, and we dolled it up and we did a nice version. They give a couple points here. It says recall that a variable cost varies in total directly and proportionally with each change in activity. Fixed cost remains the same in total with each change in activity. Recall the mixed cost changes in total, but not proportionally with each change in activity. Okay, fixed costs remain the same. Variable costs varied totally and directly and proportionally with change activity, and mixed costs change in total but not proportionally with each change in activity. Okay. All right. Save your work as you go, of course. This I always have to remind myself, this high-low, what is this? It says uses the total cost incurred at the high and low levels to classify mixed costs into fixed and variable components, and the difference in cost between high and low levels represents variable costs, and since only the variable cost element can change as activity level changes. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to create a formula for variable costs using the high-low method. So number one is you determine the variable costs per unit. You do that determination. So what is this? This was also in the book. Okay, this is an example problem that I illustrated for you guys. Okay. So this is going to be, we're going to drive 20,000 miles, 40,000, 35,000, And we just have some data. And the cost would be 30,000, 1, 2, 3, 48,000, 1, 2, 3, 49,000, 1, 2, 3, and okay. So this is a division, right? We just divide. What else are you going to do here? All right, you got to divide. So yeah, we have to construct that. So here, let's, instead of, we can, it's 4 pieces of data each, so we can eyeball this, but you've got miles driven, you've got total cost. So let's do this. Let's say equals the maximum function. And highlight everything that's happening here. Whoops. Yeah, it just max. Sorry about that. All right, that's 50,000. And what you can do, you want to lock your rows in if you wish. And I think that's a smart idea, because now we can do for the minimum, we'll just say down, but we'll, instead of max, we'll type min. So you got, and we can just look at 4 pieces of numbers. Where's the biggest and where's the smallest? But when you have 10,000 pieces of data, that might be a little harder to do. And now you have these formulas. You can say Alt H the formula, and you know, you have the same the numerical formatting. See the dollar sign? That means it's accounting. It's not number, it's accounting. The number has the comma, but accounting also has comma too. So, but again, the high cost and the low cost are 63 and 30,000. Okay. So what did we do with this? We subtracted the dollars and we subtracted the units right there. So all of this. So this is equal to parenthesis 63 minus 50, 30 minus 20. Yeah, that's your 110. The delta in the costs, so it's 63 minus 30 divided by 50,000 minus 20,000. Okay, this stuff you don't need. Okay, so you have your variable cost piece of this. Okay, the fixed, how do we get the fixed? Yeah, so so here, so just sort of returning to this, you had 4 sets of miles driven and 4 sets of costs. You determine the biggest and the smallest in miles and the biggest and the smallest in costs. So what you did is you said 63,000 minus 30,000 divided by 50,000 divided by minus 20,000. So now what you have is equal to that F10, that 110 times the miles driven. Okay, so that's 22,000. Formula. Okay. There's your, now, and so the way to get the fixed cost, you just do the delta between the total cost and that fixed cost. And all you have, you look for your the 2 times it's the same. Right? The 2 times it's the same as this. Right? There's your 8,000. So whatever this was yeah, again, using the high-low method. And what was the specific problem? This is a Metro Transit company, has maintenance and mileage for buses. Okay, this is maintenance. This is a Metro Transit company. All right, and they have maintenance costs and mileage for a fleet of buses. There was a recent commuter company up here, Montclair, that shut down, that was in business for a very long time, the Decamp bus line, and now you don't see them anymore. They took government help, but people just weren't commuting to the office as much any longer. Okay, so you got to read the tea leaves. You got to be able to read the tea leaves. And so it's 110 times the miles driven plus the fixed costs. So it'd be 8,000 plus $1.10 times the miles driven. So if the miles driven, so if your question is for 45,000 miles, what's that total cost? Well, we have it here. Right. I should know where I have it. It's going to be like this. It's going to be equals 8,000, anchor that, plus 110, anchor that, times the miles driven. There, 57,000. See how we did this? So what you did is you took 110 times 45,000 plus 8,000. Okay. I've never done too much of this, but you know, it's in the book, so we're going over it. There's an in-chapter question here, and I think that's it. Okay, so we'll just and actually, you know what we could do, because we've been on this for a while, because this is such sort of a new thing here. Let's see what would be the next set of topics, because we might be better off just picking that up the next time. Yeah, just so we could, so it'll be another video. We'll instead of just compounding it all in the same video, we could sort of repeat ourselves, right? I don't think that's so bad. This was Metro Transit, and this will be another one where it's the same. Yeah, so I don't want to just do two identical ones in the same video here. So let's do that. So we'll pick this up next time. Okay, hopefully everybody could see this relatively well with their systems. And actually what we'll do, we can just sort of slowly, we could leave full screen here, and you can just slowly take a look at some of these answers. So you can stop it if you need to, right? This formula is this, right? That 110 and the 8,000, right? Is that, right? This is the maximum function. This is the minimum function. This variable cost uses that 110, and the 110, this is the biggest formula is this. You're changing the cost over the miles is what you're doing there. Okay. This is just, you're just identifying here. This is just a delta, right? This is the percentage change. You take the 20,000 unit version, and you take 10,000 minus 8,000 divided by 8,000. So that 2,000 change is 25%. It's 2,000 over 8,000. And then you determine what's a variable cost and what's a fixed cost. That's a good exercise. We had this one with a U-Haul rental truck, where we had the total cost here. Variable cost plus total fixed cost. Okay, we did that. We have a nice graphic of that. And these are all, what's here. This is all just, this is miles driven, variable cost. This is just the product of the variable cost per unit times the number of miles. That's all that is. Fixed is just, you're just referring to the above cell. And the fixed cost per unit is just the fixed cost divided by number of miles. That's all that is. And this is just a summation of the total fixed cost and the total variable. You're just adding those up. So to get this column, right, you need this one, and you need that one. Okay. Just so you guys get a good view. These are the graphics. Yeah, make sure your colors match up. That's always important. Making sure your colors match up. Variable cost per unit, total variable cost. Okay, and that's it. So we have a nice little lecture, and then we'll pick up, tomorrow's video. I'll pick up, and we'll do another high-low method just to practice it, and then we'll start the profit. And this is long. This one is actually pretty long. And there's a lot of pieces to this. And what we can do here for the in-chapter break-even. Yeah, we could do a Rolling Stone version of this. So yeah, that's not going to be one video. Yeah, this is like 1,000 lines here. So tomorrow, what will we do tomorrow? We'll do cost value profit analysis. We'll do these. We'll do these. Contribution, and then graphic. I think we could stop like that tomorrow, I hope. And then we'll repeat ourselves here. And then we'll do target net income, and then contribution, a little bit more of a discussion with these guys, and margin, and then here. Yeah, we can stop there. There'll be another video, and then the Rolling Stone one, because that deserves its own video. That the Rolling Stone one deserves its own video. And then there's a Vargo video company after that. And then you have a comprehensive. This will be its own video. The comprehensive one. This will just be its own buy. That'll be a buy the sell video. And then we'll look at the appendix. That'll be its own. And then we'll do self-test questions. We'll keep generating a lot of good content for you guys. Okay. So hopefully this was pretty good. And folks, we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Okay. So let's post this. Let's post this.